For tonight's lesson, we're going to work on 4-4, day 1, and we're going to look at the greatest common factor. Our goal today is going to be identify and factor the GCF. And GCF is short for greatest common factor. All right, common factors. Common factors are factors that are shared by two or more numbers. The greatest common factor also known as the GCF, is the greatest of the common factors. Of two or more numbers. Which really means it's the largest factor that will go into both numbers evenly. All right, so let's look at some examples. The first one we'll look at is a binomial. 5b squared plus 45b. I'm going to show you how to do this using a method called the cake method. So look at those two terms, 5b squared and 45b, and hopefully one thing that jumps out at you is that they both have a 5 in them. So we're going to factor a 5 out. Okay, and then underneath you write down what's left. So 5 goes into 5b squared, b squared times. So basically you're just dividing 5b squared by 5. 5 goes into 45b, 9b times. So all I'm doing is taking 45b and dividing it by 5. All right, so now we look at the next step here, the b squared plus the 9b, and we notice that I said b twice, which tells me that b still goes into it. So you make another layer of the cake, and we put the common factor between those two out in front. And then divide b squared by b, and I get b. Divide 9b by b, and we have 9. All right, b and 9 do not have anything else in common, so we know that we're done. So what we do is we multiply what's on the outside of the cake, 5b, and then we put that times parentheses what's left underneath the cake, b plus 9. Factored using pulling out the greatest common factor. Basically, it's kind of like undistributing. So you can check your answer by doing the distributive property. And if I multiply this out, I get 5b times b, which would be 5b squared, and 5b times 9, which would be 45b. So therefore, I know I'm a superstar. All right, let's look at another one. All right, the next one we're going to do is a trinomial. So we'll do 3v squared minus 27v minus 30. All right. So if I look at these, we can see that 3 goes into everything. So we're going to put a 3 out in front, rewrite it inside, and I'm going to take every single term and divide it by 3. So 3v squared divided by 3, v squared. Negative 27v divided by 3, negative 9v. Negative 30 divided by 3, negative 10. All right, v squared, negative 9, and negative 10 don't have any common factors left. So I'm going to go ahead and write 3 times v squared minus 9v minus 10. So now I have to make sure that this guy here factors. So we have to check to see if it factors. So remembering the steps for a trinomial, step 1 is to make the parentheses. Step 2 is to make the X puzzle. Step 3 is to do the signs. We know they're going to be different. And then step 4, we're going to look and see what two numbers multiply to make 10 and subtract to make 9. So 10 and 1. I know that 10 has to be negative so that when I combine terms, I get a negative 9. So the 10 will go here, the 1 will go here. And this is called factoring completely. So sometimes you have to check to see if after you do the GCF, to see if it will, what's left in the parentheses will factor one more time. And occasionally you'll even factor 2 more times. Luckily, we don't have one of those evil problems right here. All right, let's do another example, one more example. Okay, let's do 5x squared minus 125. Okay, so GCF, 5. Right, and you can do this if you don't want to write the whole problem again. And 5x squared divided by 5 is x squared. Negative 125 divided by 5 is 25. So write our answer since we're done finding the GCF. Now we have a binomial. So with binomials, we always have to check for the difference of two squares, right? That's our little acronym for the difference of two squares, dots. So difference, check. 2 squares, 1 square, 2 square. So yes, it is the difference of two squares. So remembering how we did difference of two squares, 2 sets of parentheses, 1 gets a plus, 1 gets a minus, the square root of the first, the square root of the second, and we're done. Okay, so that's just a little snapshot of how to do GCFs. Okay, and again, this cake method part up here, this cake method is definitely a nice method to use. It organizes your information very nice. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.